Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and councillors and officers. It's now gone 6 o'clock, and this will be the meeting of the 18th of June 2019. Members of the public gallery should note that the council records and publishes council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the council meeting but who wish to communicate with the council via the webcast and chat room should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please, could gallery visitors and councillors ensure that their mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. And I ask you all please to stand for the statement of acknowledgement and the prayer. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai people, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the very good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all our residents and community groups. Amen. So, welcome everybody. Apologies, Mr Acting CEO.
Got Alan Hall, so the Mayor.
The Mayor?
And the CEO.
And the CEO. Thank you. Anybody with conflicts of interest? Confirmation of the previous meetings. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I will move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the Ordinary Council meeting of the 4th of June 2019.
Seconded, Councillor McCubbin. Anybody against it? Carried. You want to speak? Any business arising from previous minutes? Acting CEO? No? Right. Any late items? Any notice of motion? Is there any petitions?
Nothing outstanding.
Any invited presentations, acknowledgements? Mayor and Councillor activity report. Somebody want to move it? Councillor Rossetti?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I move that the Mayor and Councillor activity report be noted.
Seconder, Councillor Bye. Is it opposed? It's carried. Do you want to speak to it? Thank you. Youth Council report. Beck, I think it's you. Would like to come up to the...
Cool.
Just introduce yourself for the benefit of the recording and present your report.
So my name is Rebecca Hector. I'm the current Youth Mayor of the Wellington Shire Youth Council, and this is my quarterly report. So good evening, councillors. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land, the Gunai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. We last came to council in March with a very packed schedule ahead for Youth Council, and I'd like to highlight some of the things and activities that we participated in since then. So on the 30th of March we held our Colours of the World run, which was super successful in celebrating both cultural diversity and Youth Week. So it was towards the end of Youth Week. We had help from many community members, including the Centre for Multicultural Youth, who are based in Maui, parents, community members, photographers, all local, majority of them being local members who just put their hand up, and so we called volunteers and they offered to help us, which was really great. And yeah, apart from a bit of chilly weather, it was pretty great. It was a lot of fun and everybody got absolutely coloured, including my badge, which is still a little bit colourful. During Youth Week, we also held the Skate Fest and a speed cubing contest. So if anyone doesn't know what speed cubing is, it's like solving those one brand of speed cube, which is Rubik's Cube, but it's actually a brand, so speed cubes, which saw people from all over the region like accomplishing this incredible act that, you know, I've never tried to accomplish a speed cube, but I don't know if you can, but they were like blindfolded and they did them in like 10 seconds, absolutely incredible. And I got to speak to some of the people who participated, and I saw them later on that day and they said they had a great day. It was totally worth the travel. So we hosted that and it was pretty incredible. one of our most recent meetings that we've had, we had the Youth Disability Advocacy Service come and speak to us, and they ran a workshop called Together with us. So it taught us all about accessibility, how to advocate for more accessible events, so things like accessibility keys and trying to make sure our events are as inclusive as possible. And we all gained a lot from this workshop. We hope to, take what we learnt in those workshops and kind of put it forward and, teach other people and teach, new youth councillors and just youth in general all about accessibility in our community. And we also saw our federal candidates come fronted with our questions and concerns at our recent Q&A. So before the most recent election, we had our members, so we had from the Nationals and Liberals, Labor, Greens, United Australia Party. We had all those candidates here being fronted with our questions, and most of them managed to answer the questions. A little bit of tension arose, but as you expect when you get politicians all in one room answering the same question, or trying to answer the same question anyway. So that was really good. We got a lot of questions from the community and we really enjoyed it. So what's next is we have our Wellington Youth Awards. So I've had some nominations come in for those. Those will be held on the evening of June 27th, so next Thursday, at which we will celebrate young people in our local area, and it's all about recognising, people doing great acts in our community, especially young people, and just, really congratulating them on that. And at that meeting, we'll also say goodbye to current youth councillors that aren't staying on and welcome new youth councillors and present the councillors who will be staying on for the following year. So we're really excited to have some new people coming onto our team. It means getting more ideas, more people, different voices, and trying to get a really broad spectrum of people from our community involved. So we're excited about that. And we welcome anybody to attend that. I know that a few councillors are expected to attend, and we're very grateful for that. So we thank you once again for your ongoing support, and we welcome any councillors to our next meetings. And that's all.
All right, thanks, Beck. Somebody want to move that report? Councillor Crossley?
Stacey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council receive the Youth Mayor's quarterly report.
Is there a second? Councillor McCubbin. Anybody against it? It's carried. Councillor Crossley, you want to say a few words?
Yes. Thank you, Beck. And also thank you to your crew, and it is a great catching up to see that it is going to be a bit larger for this next term, I believe, so that'll be great. And it's always a fantastic thing when you have past youth councillors there to support and grow and change. So we'll look forward to the upcoming event, and another great initiative that Youth Council has put in place is the Youth Awards, which I think is terrific. But I know certainly, I think Darren can attest that there was plenty of paint around for that occasion. Spattered family came home. But it really did raise awareness, a great impact, and looked like great fun. I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend, but congratulations to the team. It's always a great pleasure to be a councillor and attend your meetings. I always find them very informative, and always impressed with the amount of sort of intense interest and awareness of your cohort in our community. So congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Next one, item C 1.1, the CEO's report. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Marr.
I move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
Second to Councillor Rossetti. Is it opposed? Okay, Councillor Marr, you want to speak to it?
Yes. Just quickly, that we can see that the CEO has been quite busy over the last month, particularly with regard to conversations on drought, and we certainly want to let our rural and farming communities know that that is still certainly a discussion that we're still having. On the 3rd of June, we can see there that he attended a meeting focused on drought with the Federal Agricultural Minister, Bridget McKenzie, member for Gippsland, Darren Chester, as well as our member for South Gippsland, Danny O'Brien. And there were also numerous stakeholders attending that meeting, including representatives from the Catchment Management Authority and the Victorian Farmers Federation. So the farmers certainly haven't been forgotten, and the conversations and issues are still certainly being discussed.
Thanks, Councillor Maher. Item C1.2, the 2019 May Council Performance Report. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mr Acting Mayor. I'd like to move the Council receive and note the May 2019 Council Performance Report as attached.
Seconded, Councillor Ripper. Is it opposed? Okay, it's carried. Councillor Stevens, you want to speak to it?
Thank you very much, Mr Acting Mayor. I'd just like to note a couple of things from the May Council Performance Report. In particular interest is the fact that the Port of Sale has been nominated for 2 Victorian Architecture Awards 2019. So that's a very exciting thing, and I hope we'll see how we go there. The Youth Mayor, of course, referred to the inaugural Wellington Youth Awards, and yes, as she said, they are going to be awarded on the night of Thursday, the 27th of June, between 6 and 8 p.m, and along with the presentation of our new youth councillors, and farewell to some of the outgoing youth councillors. So I wish them all the very best. I note that Councillor Maher's just alluded to work on the drought advocacy, and that is still an ongoing activity for Council, working closely with our agricultural reference group, and that's going to be important work for us in the next 12 months. Even though we've had some rain, there's still a lot of work to be done in relation to the drought. I note that our operating surplus for this financial year is going to be more than was budgeted, and that is basically due to additional income that we didn't anticipate, and also a decrease in budgeted expenditure. And I think overall it's fair to say that one other thing I was going to note, that we have a number of capital projects that have been completed for the year, several that are still underway, so that we've had a successful program, and overall we've had another successful financial year, I believe, Mr Acting Mayor, and which bodes well for the ongoing financial viability of this municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Item C2.1, the Assembly of Councillors. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 29th of May 2019 to the 12th of June 2019.
Let him finish it.
You shouldn't have drawn breath.
2019.
Councillor McCubbin.
No worries. Ahead of his time, that man.
You want to... anybody against?
No.
Yeah, right. Okay, it's carried. You want to speak to it, Councillor Boyd? Okay. No, you just stopped and said... Anyway, we got it all up, tidied up. Here we go. Item C, 3.1, the monthly planning decisions. Councillor Maher.
I move that Council note the report on recent planning permit trends and planning application determinations between the 1st of April and 30th of April 2019.
Seconder, Councillor Rossetti. Anybody opposed? Okay, it's carried. Councillor, you want to speak to it?
Yes. This information is of planning permit determinations is for the month of April. 44 decisions have been made. At attachment 2, we see the data that where estimated value of works is increasing in line with the averages reported by other Gippsland councils. Decisions issued have plateaued out at 100%, and it's always a really good report to actually look at, because we have a really good planning team, and I offer them congratulations on a job well done.
Thanks, Councillor. Item C 3.2, the planning amendment C99 for flood mapping and the flood policy update. The mover there. Councillor
Thank you very
Stevens.
much, Mr Acting Mayor. Look, at this stage, I'd just like to move an alternative motion. And Mr Acting Mayor, the CEO has advised us that he has received a number of questions from councillors seeking additional information or clarification regarding this item to assist and inform the decision-making of councillors, particularly in relation to the policy position relating to future development assessment. I emphasise that this is not in relation to the data or science which has informed the proposed flood mapping, but instead relates to first gaining a full appreciation of the policy implications of how future development will be assessed. It is appropriate that Council fully consider its policy position prior to further considering this item. And on that basis, I would like to move, Mr Acting Mayor, that the report on Amendment C99 lay on the table so councillors can obtain additional information on Wellingtonshire's proposed policy response to updated flood mapping and implications of how future development will be assessed.
So I've got a procedural motion. Is that opposed?
Yes.
1, 2.
Oh, you want to vote now or do you want to ask us opposed?
Well, I'm asking you, is it opposed?
Yeah.
Yes, so we said it's opposed.
Yes, opposed.
It is opposed, but have we got sufficient numbers?
No, just as long as it's
No,
opposed.
it's
Now you can go
opposed.
through the debate.
It's
So
debate.
the mover can move the
All right.
speaker.
It's opposed. I thought we had to have 5 votes to. So the procedural motion lapses.
No,
No,
it's a debate.
Yep.
Debate.
Don't we just vote?
No, it's a debate. He gets to speak and then the
All right.
second.
All right.
We all get a turn.
There's no second.
All right.
Is that a second here?
No, it's a procedural.
It's a procedural motion.
Okay, he's right.
You'd like me to speak?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr Acting Mayor. Look, this is a very important matter that's come before Council tonight, and I think that probably all councillors would agree that we need to give really serious consideration to this matter. I know that we've had a number of discussions already about this proposal, but as there was a few points of clarification that various councillors had raised, and before we basically went to the formal process of seeking approval from the minister and then going to advertise this planning scheme amendment, I basically thought it would be worthwhile just to hold it over, lay it on the table so we could have one basic final discussion just to clarify some of these pointers and then put it forward for public consideration. I don't know if I need to say anything more about it at this point. I'll just leave it open for the rest of the councillors to talk.
Thank you. Now we're calling for a speaker against it.
No, second.
There's no seconder. There not been you speaking against it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crossley?
I'm in two minds. This is a very important debate to be had, and it's a very important thing that we have to address. And if we go to some of the background, in that Wellingtonshire Council has a statutory duty to ensure flood risk and community safety in flood-prone areas is appropriately and effectively managed. And it's required by the state government planning policy that we use in that flood planning, that we use the most up-to-date information. In fact, there is risk for both the community safety and potential risk to council if we don't use the most appropriate and up-to-date flood area mapping. That's why I've had this...
Point of order, Mayor.
Just resume your seat, please, Councillor.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Mayor. Just that at the moment we're debating whether it should lay on the table or not. So I suspect that the argument that's coming from Councillor Crossley is actually more aligned with the motion itself rather than whether it should or shouldn't lay on the table. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Can I
I'm trying to be lenient because of the nature of the... Yeah, okay. If we've had a point of order, so...
Yes? Oh, you're going to determine, sorry. I was just going to...
It's just a perhaps a reminder. It's okay.
Yeah. What I was coming round to, thank you for the reminder, was that, you know, are we at risk if we do defer this, and whether we're, you know, making the appropriate decision now, or we need to make the appropriate decision later. And I suppose why I'm a little bit, you know, trying to sit on the fence, I suppose, in a way, of deferring or not deferring, because I would have anticipated that these chairs would have been full this evening. So I'm not sure whether the community is aware of this important decision and this policy, or whether they are at ease with it, or whether they don't know. So this is what's put me at a quandary. I think it is a very important decision, and I was all geared up to have stand up and move the motion so that we didn't defer. But I just think it's a critical decision, so I'm not sure where I'm going with it.
You've spoken against it. So is there another speaker for it? Councillor Mark.
I'd like to confirm what Councillor Crosley has just said with regard to the lack of bums on seats, as you will, in our gallery. I think that it is certainly an issue that the community may know about this C99 amendment, and the fact that this is an amendment that will actually impact on a broad scale a large number of our landowners along the coast and riverine. And I think that the mere fact that we don't have them here speaks volumes. And I certainly support the matter of laying it on the table to allow the communication to go out and to allow broader discussion about this matter.
Thank you. Another speaker against?
Thanks, Mayor. I've just to speak against it because I think we've actually had a number of briefings already. We've had a lot of information provided about this, and I can't understand where any additional information could come from that could be given to us. It's been the briefings for us have been quite extensive. I think that we have all the information necessary to be able to make a decision on this today, and that's why I'm not supportive of laying on the table. I think pushing it further and further out does nothing but raise issues in our communities where it certainly has been out in the community, it's been in the media, people know it's on. We've had plenty of letters and emails from people about providing their points of view. So we've not only been briefed by council officers, we've also been briefed by the community, and I think we can deal with this today.
Thank you. Another speaker? Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to speak for the motion, if I may, Mr Acting Mayor. Look, yes, indeed, I have some questions. I certainly agree with Councillor Rossetti and other speakers, Councillor Crossley, who suggested how important this amendment is. It's very important that one of the key issues that councillors have to do is to ensure that our areas are protected, ensure that our population is protected from harm, and I guess, indeed, our ratepayers are protected from litigation in regard to inappropriate planning decisions being made. So I absolutely see the need for us to move on this motion. However, I do have some questions in regard to it. The questions I have are in regard to, firstly, what is the exact nature of this? It's in regard to what's called intensification, which is not about existing dwellings, and we know that there's a risk to existing dwellings, but it is in my understanding that it's about the area of new development. And I'd like to ask some more further questions about exactly what that is going to mean, you know, in terms of absolute conditions on that new development. So I've got questions about the nature of the amendment and what it means to the future development of certain areas. I have questions about consistency. I think it's really, really important that we as the Wellington Shire are seen to be consistent in terms of a broader framework of what's going on within the state of Victoria, indeed in Australia and the world. We see a number of responses to climate change, which is absolute and real, and I think it's really important that it's not just the Wellington Shire that is developing this way forward, that we are part of a coordinated statewide approach to this major problem. And we shouldn't be standing as a vanguard, if you like, we should be part of a collective response. And so I have questions about that collective response. What is the government doing? What are the expectations on us as councillors? So I have questions about that. I've also got broader questions about climate change in general. I absolutely believe in climate change and believe in the response that the CMA are doing in terms of trying to protect our communities. But to me, the question I've got is this simple solution, imposing restrictions on new development, and again, I'm not exactly sure what that means, is that enough to protect our communities into the future? Is the absolute climate change activity which is occurring, is the passing of this motion going to create a solution to those communities for future development? Or is it merely a stopgap measure which we're going to have to revisit in years to come as we get new data, new information which continues to enhance our understanding? Is it something about mitigation we should be discussing, or even adaptation? This, I think, needs to be part of a broader conversation, and I'd like to ask some questions about, if we're, about the ongoing viability of our communities and how we can make them viable. Please do not suggest that I'm suggesting they're not viable. I'm suggesting that it's a conversation we need to have. So I'm suggesting we put this on the table for a short amount of time to ask questions about exactly what this means, to ask questions about the consistency between us and other councils. I want to ask questions about the full climate change response. And I guess finally, I'd like to just see whether those CSIRO figures, the data figures that we're using, have been updated. So just to ensure that we've got the most reliable data we possibly could have. So surely waiting a month isn't going to hurt for that.
Thanks, Councillor.
Thank you.
Another speaker against it? I'll step out of line here. Another speaker for? Okay. Yeah, the mover, of course, being a procedural, you don't get a right of reply.
I don't want
But we will have to have a vote. So those in favour of the motion as presented, that the report on Amendment C99 lay on the table so councillors can obtain additional information on Wellington Shire's proposed policy response to the updated flood mapping and the implications of how future development will be assessed. Those in favour? Against? It's 2, it's carried. So it's laying on the table. Item, thank you for that contribution, everybody. Item 3.3, the Planning Amendment 103 for the Industrial Rezoning of West Sale. Councillor McCubbin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acting Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as listed, pursuant to section 22 and 23. Excuse me, I might just do that again, I apologise. I'd like to move the recommendation that pursuant to section 22 and 23 of the Planning and Environment Act of 1987, consider all written submissions made to Amendment C103, West Sale Industrial Rezoning. 2, pursuant to section 29 of the Planning and Environment Act of 1987, resolve to adopt Amendment C103, West Sale Industrial Rezoning with changes, refer to attachment 2. And 3, pursuant to section 31 of the Planning and Environment Act of 1987, resolve to request the Minister of Planning to approve Amendment C103, West Sale Industrial Rezoning.
We've got a seconder there, Councillor Bye. Is the motion opposed? It's carried. Councillor McCubbin.
Thank you. And look, I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for supporting this very important amendment. As I mentioned previously, I think one of the important jobs that Council needs to do is to ensure we have proper planning into the future. And this comes out of a bunch of strategic studies that we did, which demonstrated that in order for us to grow as a shire, for us to develop jobs for our people and economic growth, that we need to have proper industrial estates. And these industrial estates need to be located in such a way that they are not going to be impacting on residential areas. This is not to suggest that we already have some industrial areas which still have some room for growth, but we are planning well into the future so that we as a shire can attract the sort of heavy industry, the sort of major scale developments, and ensure that we have areas of our shire made available so that those jobs, those industries can be redeveloped in our region. Now, Our economic development team is working hard to get those opportunities on the table and to move them forward. But of course, we need to have land available to be able to realise their dream. Now, we've put that out in some sort of conversation, and we had discussions with the various authorities. In terms of VicTrack, we've had to make some slight modifications, only in suggesting that they will not be liable to any costs in terms of railway access and so on. But quite clearly, the general population of that area, which have been canvassed extensively, are comfortable with where we're going in the rezoning of this farmland to industrial. So what you see is that the authorities are comfortable with where we're going. We had to make some small changes, as I said, but the authorities are comfortable with where we're at. The local population has not put in any objections, so we're asking the Minister to get on with it. We're saying to the Minister that we've ticked all the boxes, we've done a proper study, and as I've said to you, this has been going on for at least a couple of years. So we've done the study, our planning department has worked diligently to understand and explore all the possibilities, and it's now up to the Minister. We believe that there's no need to go through a panel and all that sort of stuff. Right now, we just need to get on with getting more proper industrial zoned land into our Wellington Shire, and understand where this is. It's sitting at and it was identified during the strategic studies that we did. It's near the West Sale Airport. It's perfectly situated to the Princess Highway. It's near our major centres, but it's not within our major centres. It's an ideal location for a new big industry to come to town. So let's get on with it. Let's start building.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Right, item C4.1, the road discontinuance, part of Cooper Crescent, Maffra. Somebody want to move that? Councillor Crossley, thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I move that pursuant to section 206(1), including clause 3 of schedule 10 and section 207A of the Local Government Act 1989, Council resolved to advertise its intentions to discontinue a section of unused road adjoining 6 Cooper Crescent, Maffra, and 2, pursuant of section 189 and section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council resolved to advertise its intentions to sell the discontinued section of Cooper Crescent, Maffra to the adjoining owner of 6 Cooper Crescent, Maffra, and 3, Council place a notice of the proposed discontinuance of the section of unused road adjoining 6 Cooper Crescent, Maffra in the local newspaper, and serve a copy of the notice on abutting property owners and statutory authorities, and 3, for Council appoint 3 councillors, being Councillor Ripper, Councillor Hall and Councillor Crossley. Plus an alternate representative of Councillor Stevens. To form the Cooper Crescent Road Sale Committee that is established by Council under section 223(1)(bi) of the Act, consider written submissions/objections and to hear any person who in their written submissions under section 223 of the Act have been requested that they be heard in support of their submission objections. And 5, in the event of no objection, Council resolved to discontinue a section of the unused road adjoining 6 Cooper Crescent, Maffra, and place a notice in the Victorian Government Gazette. And 6, Council dispose of the discontinued section of road to the adjoining landowner in accordance with Wellington Shire Council Policy 436, sale, exchange and acquisition of land.
All right, is there a second to something? Councillor Ripper, thank you. I know it's getting late in the day. Is it opposed? Councillor Crossley, do you want to say any words, please?
Yes, thank you. This is a bit of an anomaly. Most people probably didn't realise that it was a road easement. Some of these come up from time to time. So this is tidying up that anomaly. The land is the one that's hashed out in the red. This has already got a shed built on it, so the adjoining landowner will be purchasing the land at market value and covering all the costs incurred with that sale. It seems, as I say, tidying up something that should have been sorted out previously, and I'm sure the people in the street doesn't even know that it's an unused road. So,
Thank you, Councillor. Item C 4.2, the road exchange with Stockdale Road, Stockdale. Is it Councillor River? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to move pursuant to Section 206, including Clause 2 of Schedule 10 and Section 207A of the Local Government Act 1989. Council's resolved to advertise its intention to undertake a road exchange by deviation sections of unused government road north of Crown Allotment 1, 3 and 4 Section A, Parish of Bow-Wurrong over parts of Crown Allotment 2 and 2B, Section A, Parish of Bow-Wurrong. Council place a public notice of the proposed discontinuance of these sections of unused government road in local newspapers and serve a notice on statutory authorities. 3. Council seek 3 councillors, which will be Councillor Ripper, Councillor Crosley and Councillor Hole, and alternate will be Councillor Stevens. Representatives to form the Stockdale Road Exchange Committee that is established by Council under Section 223 1(b)(I) of the Act to consider written submissions, objections and to hear any persons who in their written submissions under Section 223 of the Act have been requested that they be heard in support of their submissions objection. 4. In the event that there are no objections or submissions, Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to progress the road exchange, including placing a notice in the Victorian Government Gazette.
Right, is there a seconder to that somewhere? Yeah, Councillor McCubbin. Is it opposed? Sorry. Oh, that's a gift of being on the left of me. Is it opposed? I ask you, it's not opposed. Councillor Ripper, do you want to say a few words about it, please?
Yeah, we'll just whip up to the where we've got the photograph. As you can see there, this was Council became aware of this in 2018, but it goes back in time, and it due diligence to our council officers that a safety issue whilst realigning Beverley Road came up, and in 1964 the Shire of Avon initially commenced the process, but for some reason it was stopped in 1978. So it is now moving, and you can see what's happening with A and B. We've got an exchange with the Wellington Shire is exchanging those 2 roads. So the landowner is quite happy to do so. So it will progress on, and it then will make that safety issue and the realignment of Beverley Road safe. That's the most important thing. Everyone's happy, good result.
Right, thank you, Councillor. Any urgent business? Acting CEO? There's not being any. Anything in the chat room? No. Nothing in the chat room. Okay, we need to go into closed session. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you very much, Mr Acting Mayor. I would like to move that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Section 89(2) of the Local Government Act 1989 to consider personnel matters.
Thank you. That's a procedural motion, isn't it?
I can second that.
You get a second? Yeah, Councillor Rossetti. So, everybody's nodding their heads. I'm trying to placate everybody. Okay, against carried.
He's done well. He's done very